Rising Productions, and this is Diva Talk. I'm Mia.
I'm Karen.
And I'm Reverie. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Scorpio Rising Productions. It's great to see everyone back. Our topic today is self-care while caring for others. You know, we're all in this COVID thing. We've all got our own thing going on. It's been difficult for everyone. I mean, personally, I've lost my business. I've had to start all over again. I just found out today that my unemployment is running out over the holidays. And I'm just like, shit, what am I going to do? What's next? Right. I started a new business, but like anything, it's starting slow.
Right.
So anyway, that's one of my COVID stories. What about you, Karen?
Yeah, you know, I what we've all been saying, this has impacted everybody. And, you know, it's such a trying time. And there's the thing that's so frustrating is, you know, we've been doing this, for 9 months, right? Yeah. There are still people who are questioning the virus, which is just mind-boggling to me. Because, you know, there are real cases and there are real tests. And yes, sure, I've known people who have tested positive for the virus. Thankfully, they're okay. But, you know, I live with a frontline worker and I'm worried every day about it. So this is real, folks. This is not pretend. It's some real stuff is happening, and it's scary sometimes. All the time, really.
It is. It's very scary. And, you know, in my world, in the recovery world, God, it feels like people are dropping like flies. Like when I first got laid off, you know, I went to the store. I was like, I'm going to get toilet paper because everybody's freaking out about toilet paper. So let me go get some toilet paper. And when I pulled into the store, there was a liquor store right there. And, you know, at that point I had 5.5 years sober, but I still had that demon in my head, that beast, that sleeping beast woke up and went, what else are you doing? Why not? And, you know, it took a lot for me to work through that and process through that to not relapse. But so many of my friends relapsed through this because isolation is not something we're made to do as humans to start with. And in recovery, it's really important not to isolate. So it's been an incredible struggle, but hopefully we're getting through this, and hopefully we'll come out better and stronger is all I can hope.
Yeah, well, I kind of feel like this is kind of an opportunity for us to unify and rise up together. And I appreciate what you said about that recovery, Mia, because, you know, it's not the same when you do things in a Zoom and, you know, being in a room with people and hearing stories of recovery and just feeling that strength. I mean, sure, it's an option, right, to do. That's our next best thing to do. But is it ideal? It's probably not, but it's hard to, I'm sure, for people who are struggling with the disease of alcoholism or a drug problem or even a food addiction. My God, I've eaten so much food.
Humans in general were not meant to be separated. We weren't meant to be isolated. We need that soul to soul connection, that energy that bounces off of one another. We need physical contact. So it's been rough. Like I need a hug. Can somebody just give me a hug?
I know I'll have to give you a virtual one, but you know, I think that right now self-care is so important. And I mean, on top of trying to stay focused and, you know, I make my list every day. I mark things off my list, which I know that sounds crazy, but that's my self-care. When I get things done, I feel better about it. But this year I've found essential oils, and that has helped me to relax. I have one in my room, and something about lavender and this sleepy scent that I use, I forget what it's called, but it's got bergamot in it, and it really helps me to unwind and relax. And I've gone from listening to metal music to listening to classical music. That's pretty much all I listen to all the time. And it helps me go into a more positive frame of mind. So that's been my self-care this year. But I've lost weight. I've lost 15 pounds this year. So I don't find comfort in food. I'm weird. I'm one of those weird people. Everyone's like, I put on 15 pounds. I'm like, no. So food doesn't do it for me, but I have to find other things. Mia, what do you do for self-care? Because I don't want you to relapse.
Oh, I've started going to in-person meetings just because I need to be
Right.
in a room with people, but social distance with the mask on, nobody touch me, which I miss the hugging. Somebody hug me, but I go on hikes. That way I can get out in the nature and be separate. And that's where I really thrive. It's getting cold right now and I can't go out on the water and I get desperate to get out on the water. So winter is going to be really rough. I'm a little concerned what that's going to look like with the cold months, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to go on my hikes in the cold weather. Well, I'm sure I could if I weren't such a wuss, but I'm kind of a wuss when it comes to the cold. So we'll see. And the treadmill just doesn't do it for me. And the last time I went to the gym, I literally opened the door to the gym and every single machine was full and nobody was wearing masks, or only like half the people were wearing masks. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't go in here. I'm going to have an anxiety attack just trying to walk in this place. It's, here in Texas, people just aren't taking it seriously anymore. They're over it. We've had COVID fatigue, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm ready for my life back.
Sure.
Before COVID hit, I was at the peak of my life. I was a single woman enjoying being single. I was dating myself for the first time in my life. I was out there doing things I wanted to do, and I was loving my life. And then this thing, it feels like it just took everything out from underneath me. And I want it back.
I couldn't go into a gym right now. There would be no way. I couldn't go into a gym.
Yeah, they opened my gym and they opened my yoga studio like probably, after maybe 2 or 3 months. And I was like, nope, I'm not going back to either one. I'm not comfortable with it. And I'm still not. And unfortunately, my yoga studio has closed permanently. And it was a business that was around for over 30 years. And it's sad. It's sad to see what's happening to businesses right now. And that's part of the experience. That's part of that was my routine. I would drive to the village and I would take my yoga and then I'd go and have a little tea afterwards. And, we hang out with a couple of yogis, and it was just, like a thing to do. And now while I do have a yoga practice at home, it's very different, I mean, my cats are around, which is nice. They get to walk in the background while I'm
Stella did downward dog. Yeah. I loved it.
In her case, it's downward cat.
Oh, downward cat.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. Downward cat.
It's Stella's pose. So
don't mess with a kitty.
But yeah, I also do the hiking. I start my days with hiking, and now I'm doing a run for RBG where I'm doing a cumulative miles to match the age in which she passed, 87 miles. So
what number are you on?
I'm halfway done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll get it done in the next few weeks. But, all of that, being outdoors is a huge part of my self-care. I have to connect with nature. I have to be outdoors, and I do it safely. I wear the mask and social distance, and for the most part, people practice that. And when they don't, I just keep my distance from them. But it's, and I live in such a great neighborhood where I can do that very easily, where I can just hop right onto a trail. And I'm very grateful for that. I feel like a lot of gratitude. These obviously, we've wrapped Thanksgiving, but this has been an opportunity to see what you are grateful for, rather than, yes, there are some things that we don't have and we miss, but look at the things that we can still do. And I'm very grateful for that.
That's one of the things I do at night. I don't know about you two, but I've been having a terrible insomnia. I'll go days without a proper night's rest. And one of the things my hairdresser, bless him, told me was, you know what? Think about gratitude. Go down the list and think about everything that you're grateful for. And I did that one night, and then I slept really well. And top of my list was, I feel so grateful to have Scorpio rising and the connections that I have with the two of you. And then I just went down the list. I am grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my health. You know, I'm grateful for my friendships. I'm grateful for my cat. I have my family, you know, and just going down the list. And then finally, I just thought, I have a lot to be grateful and thankful for. And then I slept really well. I think we have a tendency to just get caught up in all the negative mumbo jumbo, or you overanalyze things that somebody says and you blow it all out of proportion because it's 3 a.m. You're not thinking straight.
And that's usually the time I get up and my brain just won't shut off. I've not had a proper night's sleep. Even before the virus, I've not slept well because of, you know, perimenopause. But I do wake up and I just have such a hard time getting back to sleep. And it's so, so sometimes I say to my little Echo Dot, turn on such and such a music, and that will help soothe my mind, get me back to a mind, you know, a restful state. And also meditation has been helpful.
Yeah.
Take in a deep breath. Now breathe out. Just feel the fucking nonsense float away.
Meditate or masturbate. That's what I say.
Oh.
Either one, they relieve stress.
It's true.
Hey, use whatever works. Well, that depends.
On that note.
And on that note, you know, I am actually really excited about our guest today. And I think it's long overdue that we support our essential workers. And that's why I'm so excited to welcome a nurse, Joanna Huerta, to Scorpio Rising Productions.
Right on.
Everyone, please welcome Joanna Huerta. Joanna, welcome. I have to say, it's so great to see you and actually see your beautiful face. I haven't seen your face in a year, almost a year.
I know. Thank you so much for inviting me on. This is really exciting.
Of course. Thank you so much. I know you're super busy with school and with your job. So thank you for taking time out of your day to, meet us.
Thank you. Of course. Yeah, of course. This is kind of fun. It's a new experience for me.
Yeah, well, it's great. Well, we know we're going to learn a lot from you today. So let's go ahead and get started. So we were wondering, how do you receive training as a nurse? And how long have you been working as a registered nurse?
So you have to take all your, your basic classes, like your general classes, your English, your math, a lot of sciences, anatomy, microbiology, physiology. You take all your core sciences. And then once you have all of the requirements, then you would apply to a nursing program. And depending on where you go to school, you can graduate with your ADN or your BSN. But regardless, if you go to nursing school and you pass, then you're eligible to sit and take the NCLEX examination. And that's administered by the state where you live in, and you get licensed. And if you get your license, then, you're eligible to work as a nurse, but you still have to, I have to do continuing education credits I think it's renewed every 2 years. So if you don't do those continuing education, you won't be able to renew your license. So, yeah. So it's a lot of work. And if you're a nurse, you're constantly learning, the education never stops. So,
sure.
But, because science and medicine is changing every day. They come up with, new medicines. We learn more about diseases. So it's important that we always, continue with our learning.
How long have you been working as a nurse now?
Oh, okay. So I graduated nursing school in 2018. So I'm still a baby nurse. I'm considered a novice nurse. And so 2 years. in August, I believe, 2 years. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's crazy because, I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be working in the middle of a pandemic, like especially a new nurse in a pandemic. It's so surreal. It doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
I just got chills.
A learning curve, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you were really kind of thrown in it, really. I mean, and the fact too that there's still so much to learn about this virus, and you have to kind of be on the front lines like you are,
Mm-hmm.
figuring it out every day, like what this symptom looks like or what that looks like. And, is it COVID? Is it not COVID? Is it something that, yeah.
Exactly. Actually, I was just talking about this yesterday with a colleague because every day we see patients that have different symptoms. One patient will say, well, I feel like I have allergies. Another one will say, you know what, I had diarrhea and I had chills. Another one will say, I just had a headache. And another one is grasping for air. They can't breathe and they have to be hospitalized. So it's so different for everybody. And I think that's the scary thing, is that you think that it can't happen to me, but it could happen to anybody because it's happening to young people. They're getting very sick. It's not just an older person, an elderly, someone who has asthma, diabetes, or any other comorbidities. It's not just them that's getting sick. A lot of young people are getting sick.
And it can happen to you and you not even know that it's happening to you.
And I think that's the most scary part of this virus and this pandemic, because you can feel completely fine. So you let your guard down and you go around your family and you go around your friends and you go to the market and you do things. You're trying to live your life and you're not realizing that you're infecting how many people along the way.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really just important, that you have to, I know they're annoying and uncomfortable and we're tired of it, but you really just have to be very vigilant with your mask wearing.
Yes. Well, and
Mm-hmm.
not only that, but, and I really want to hear this from you because you're there, you're on the front lines, and we applaud you for that. And we were talking about this before you came on about how there's this idea that this virus isn't real, that, this isn't really happening. And so therefore we can, go back to our stuff and do whatever the hell we want. And what we're seeing is,
Mm-hmm.
are people dying?
Exactly. It honestly, that baffles me. Like when people, and even I have family members that feel the same way. Like, oh, it's not that serious. It's like a flu, but the flu also kills people. And so what I tell them is, you don't know. You haven't seen a person grasping for air. You haven't heard of. You haven't. Sometimes patients are like coughing and they can't stop coughing, and they're like 5 minutes and they're just coughing and coughing, like if that's one of their main symptoms. And people are dying, every day. And it's really upsetting actually that people don't take this serious. I don't know if they're in denial, it's their way of coping. I don't know if it's political. It's just, saying that it's not real doesn't make it go away.
Right.
It doesn't make it not real.
Well, and I think that's part of that, it is a denial because they probably don't want to deal with that. It's real, but you're seeing it. You're seeing people really sick and you're seeing people die.
Yeah, it's real. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I turn on the news, literally any channel. I mean, go on social media, go on Instagram. Like, so many people are speaking out, and I don't know if people are denying it. I really don't know if they'll ever believe it. But I usually say that people don't care about anything until it directly affects them. People don't care about anything until it directly affects them. They won't care about it until their family member gets sick, their child, their parent, So unfortunately, if that's the way that you're going to learn, then, that's the way it is. But usually people don't care about anything until it directly affects them.
Mm-hmm. It's It's the sad truth, but I think you're very spot on about that, Joanna. And we could go on about the virus and how it's been impacting us and what you're seeing, but I do want to keep the focus on you, because I know that this is new for you to be in nursing, and then now to be thrown into a pandemic. But I just was curious, like, what is your typical work day like? What time do you get up in the morning? What do you do in the morning to prep for these kinds of days that you have? And how long are your shifts, and how are they any longer than they were pre-pandemic?
Yeah. So when we had our first surge, like around March and April, I was working at the bedside. I was working in a hospital, in a major hospital. And when you work in the hospital, you work 12-hour shifts. So I was working, and they're never really 12 hours, because you usually have to stay to, you have to give report to the next oncoming nurse. You have to make sure that you finished all of your charting. So it's never just 12 hours. But I was working the night shift. So I was working from 7 to 7:30. So it was a little bit tough. So, when I was working night shift, I was basically sleeping all day, getting up, around 5, taking a shower, having something, bite to eat, and then just, going on my way. But right now I'm actually
working. What do you eat for breakfast? What kinds of stuff do you eat? I'm curious to keep yourself healthy.
For breakfast?
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, it's hard, because I have days where I just want to eat comfort food. I want something that just tastes good, But I mean, I make smoothies, or I just have on the go, breakfast bars, fruit. Really just depends what I have in my kitchen. Mm-hmm.
That's healthy.
But right now, I try. I try. But right now I am working in primary care. So I work Monday through Friday, and I work just like 8 to 4:30. So I'm just working 8 hours. But we do have a COVID clinic. So when patients do come in, and if they are symptomatic, or if they have COVID, because, I know that it's being put out there a lot. If you're sick, and if your symptoms are manageable, then you stay home, right? You don't go out, and you don't, in fact, the nurses and doctors and people who are out. But a lot of people, they don't know, or they get scared, or, so they come to the clinic. So we see them in a separate clinic. So to keep them away from, other patients, to prevent, an outbreak. And, we see them there, and we get them testing if they need it, if we feel that they probably have it. So, when we were at the beginning of the pandemic, when we surged, it seems like our restrictions were pretty effective, right? People were staying home. They were kind of doing what they had to do. And then I think everybody kind of got COVID fatigue. They were tired of staying home, and they were just over it. They wanted just to resume their normal life. And I think everybody let their guard down, and they relaxed a bit. And now we're seeing another surge. So we are seeing a lot more patients now that are positive and have symptoms. So, this is just a reminder to everybody to stay vigilant, and this is not over. And just because New Year comes and it's 2021, this is not going to magically go away. I think that's what people think. I think a lot of people think that, like, oh, next year it's going to be fine. But really, it's not going to be fine until we have a vaccine, and until, a majority of the population wants to get it, because just because we have a vaccine, we don't really know if people are going to want to take it.
Yeah, don't kiss a stranger at midnight.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't end at midnight. And I'm curious though, before the pandemic, like I want to know what kind of nurse you are exactly, and what that means in a pandemic. Like, how is that different before the pandemic, and how is it different now?
So my background, I have experience. I worked on a medical surgical floor and a telemetry floor. That's normally the floor where patients go if they're having they're basically on the monitor, so we could see how their heart is working, that's the kind of floor that I was on. But it's completely different now, because I think we're dealing with the fact that for a long time, and even now, our facilities, we've had a shortage of PPE. And so before the pandemic, PPE, you use it once, you're in a patient room, you take off your gown, you take off your mask, whether it's N95 or just a surgical mask, you take it off, you throw it away, and that's it. And now, in the pandemic, we have one mask that we reuse. You have to use it the whole day.
Still?
And, you know,
That's
yes,
like that?
You get one mask, and you know, at least for me, you use it all day.
Wow.
Or they'll give you, you know, if you're working 5 days, they'll give you 5 masks, and then you have to just use them. They said, well, we gave you your mask. And so there is still a shortage. Everything, you know, like gloves, even it's just gloves used to be, you know, out in the rooms for just out and, you know, not locked up. Sanitizing wipes were just out in every room. You could easily grab one if you needed to wipe something down. And now those products are like gold.
Because the consumer outside of the health profession is now buying them and overstocking.
I'm just curious, because you talk about you have to reuse the mask and you used to just throw it away. Does that put you at a higher risk?
Well, yeah, because I think after so many hours, the masks become basically ineffective, because they get wet with your droplets that come out just by speaking. Even though you can't see, you know, nothing's coming out, you can't see anything, the mask is still getting moist and damp just because of the fact that you're breathing. So technically, you're not supposed to use them after a couple of hours. But, you know, a mask is better than no mask. A mask is better than no mask. So a lot of nurses will put on the N95, and then they'll put on a surgical mask over that.
Yeah,
and that'll kind of extend the life of the
dental
mask.
office. They'll do that. They'll have double and the face shield. Yeah.
And the face shield too.
And then the shield. Yeah, that's part of the daily. And it's hot. Wearing all of that gear is hot. And then if you have to be if you're going to do something that's going to require you that you have to be in a gown, like if you're going to do wound care, if you're going to do something where, you know, bodily fluids might splash, you wear a gown. And so it gets pretty hot into that thing. And then not only that, you get the marks on your face after wearing a mask for 12 hours, you know, so it's pretty, it's tough. And then, you know, if you think about it, if you're wearing a mask all day, are you really thinking to take your mask off to stop and have a glass of water? You know, sometimes nurses go hours, like 8 hours without having a drink of water, because it's on and you forget. And it's just such a hassle to take off your PPE and take it back on. So it's different. And I think it's really hard to be a bedside nurse in the hospital right now.
Well, again, I applaud you and all of the healthcare professionals that have been taking care of everyone right now.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how you do it. I'm in awe of you. I mean, we live in the same complex and I never see you. You're never home. You are on the go like no one I know. But
I know.
It's really something. You were talking about gloves earlier, and I wanted to go into a situation that I had recently where I was taking a course and I was in a room with other people. And of course, we were socially distancing, but I was wearing gloves because I have a compromised immune system. I have asthma, and I'm just taking every precaution I can to keep from getting sick. And someone in my class came up to me and said, we're not doing that anymore. People aren't wearing gloves anymore. And I kind of got a little annoyed by that, because I think whatever you're comfortable with, and, you know, I'm going in and I'm doing my thing, and I'm constantly with gloves on, washing them and hand sanitizing them. And I just felt more comfortable wearing the gloves. And then I was told that, you know, I wasn't allowed to wear them anymore. And I just thought that was odd. And I wanted to know your opinion on wearing gloves, and also if you could give us a glove demonstration, because I know there's a proper way to take them on and put them off.
Yeah. Well, I'd say anything that gives you a sense of security. I mean, why not? It's not gonna, as long as you said like you are washing your gloves and you're sanitizing them, then I don't think anybody should tell you, you know, don't wear gloves, or that's not allowed, or we don't do that. It's whatever makes you feel safe and secure, because a lot of that is mental as well. If you are constantly scared and stressed, it's going to lower your immune system, and you're going to be more susceptible to you know, an infection or anything, even if it's just a common cold. So that probably wasn't nice that they told you not to wear gloves. But the thing about wearing gloves is that you do have to be mindful that you might have a barrier between the glove, something between your actual hand and whatever you're touching. But at the same time, you have to think, how many times do you touch your face? Or just, you know, and you don't even realize that you're doing it. So if you have your gloves on and then you're touching, you know, you go put gas, or you're touching your cell phone, or whatever you're touching, you're at the grocery store and you're paying, you know, and you're paying with your, you know, your debit card, your credit card, and you're touching the, you know, the little keypad. You got to remember that you have that glove on and it is protecting you. But the minute that you touch that glove to your face, then you could be compromised, and you could actually be more susceptible to you know, to getting sick, basically. So as long as you're really you're mindful that you're that you're sanitizing your gloves, because you could just throw the hand sanitizer on them and clean them, and that's fine. You can do that, but just don't get too comfortable that you're safe with your gloves on, because really you might not be.
Is there a proper way to take them off?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I'd love to see this.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, can we have a glove demonstration?
So I have gloves here. So there's no really special way to put them on. You just put them on like normal. So you have your gloves on. But the way to take them off is to prevent any germs that are on your gloves from getting on your hands. Is you stick one finger, like your thumb. You stick your thumb inside, and then you take it off inside out, and then you roll it in a ball, and you put it in the hand. And then you put your clean thumb inside, and you take them all out. Now everything that's dirty is inside this one glove, and you're touching the inside of your glove that was never dirty. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
So the way I was doing it was wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you're always just putting one thumb in, taking it off, rolling it into a ball, putting it into the palm of your other hand, and then when you take off the second glove, you just you're doing it basically inside out. So then when you're throwing away the trash, also everything is wrapped inside the glove, so there won't be any spread of germs.
Right.
See, and those of us who dye our hair, we know how to do that because we can take the gloves off without getting dye on anything.
Okay, exactly. If you think that way, then you will definitely know how to take off gloves.
I love it.
And there is a special way to put on gloves if you're going to use sterile gloves, but in everyday life, you don't need a sterile glove, right? So it's just important to know to take them off that way.
Yeah.
So are there other procedures that have changed for you as a nurse during this pandemic? We've already talked about wearing the masks and the gloves, but are there different things, like handling hypodermic needles or, I don't know, cleaning bedpans? I mean, are there different procedures now with the pandemic, with how you do your job?
It's not really different. If you're obviously with a patient that doesn't have it, you're just treating them like we have standard precautions. which is always, wearing gloves, gown, mask, goggles if needed, if there could be flash of bodily fluids. But you always have to assume that the patient is sick, the patient, has a communicable disease. So we're always just, we're trained and we're taught to always practice with caution. And that hasn't really changed. It's just been enhanced because now we have to be aware of how close we get to our patients, but we don't really have an option sometimes. If we have to, we have to put in an IV, we are basically right there, right in their, right in front of them, right in their face. So as long as you put on your PPE correctly, and we do have certain steps of how we put it on, which is called how we don PPE, and how we take it off, how we doff PPE, you're pretty much safe. The thing is that we just get so busy. Sometimes you take shortcuts and you do things the fast way, and that's really where you make yourself vulnerable.
Sure.
That's got to be really stressful and exhausting. So thank you for doing that, by the way. But what do you do? Because self-care is so important in this time. So what do you do to take care of yourself and make sure that you're not stressed out, so your immune system is low, so you're more susceptible? What are you doing to take care of yourself?
Yeah, exactly. Because we always tell, especially for nurses, we cannot pour from an empty cup, right? We have to be, if we're not well, if we're not physically well, if we're not mentally well, it really affects the quality of care that we are giving, because we might get, might lead to burnout. So self-care in the healthcare field, especially, it's really, really, really important. So right now, I work full time and I go to school full time, so it's very hard. I don't really have a lot of time just for me to do what I like to do. But I mean, I'm very simple. I really enjoy just being home, just being with my boyfriend. He's really supportive, and I like just being home and resting, and I like to binge watch on Netflix. I like to read novels that are just for fun. I like doing crossword puzzles. Sometimes it's really anything that's not. Sometimes I just need to not be stimulated mentally, because I leave work so just thinking, and when I get home I'm just exhausted. So I really enjoy just being home and the quiet and the peacefulness, and especially where I live, it's very peaceful and quiet. So
except for that crazy person who's running your building.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah. And I've been doing a lot of online shopping, so that helps. Sometimes even just browsing, not even buying anything, just looking at things. It's it clears my mind. Yeah. Oh, I have a bike where I do like indoor cycling. So I have a Peloton, so that I like getting on that when I can. So, yeah.
That's great. And I think these are all great tips for other people to if you're not doing it already. I think many of us are binge watching a lot of Netflix already. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I've watched almost every single show, but my husband is a frontline worker. So, I really try to make the weekends really special for him and I, because it's an opportunity for us both to kind of restore ourselves. And, for him, he has to go back to work on Monday. Sadly, I lost my job because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. But, I think either way, it's just healthy for anyone who's working to just find something to stay healthy. And you kind of already answered the next question I was going to ask, which is, some of the hobbies and things that you do. I think these were probably things that you do on your day off. So I'm going to do a kind of a little spin on this next question, which is, what do you miss about things that you used to do that you can't do right now? What is that, maybe that one thing that you wish you could do, or you can't wait to go back to when this is all over?
When the pandemic is over? You know what? I mean, honestly, it's not being afraid of people. I mean, I just wanted to touch people. I want to hug someone. I want to just stand in the crowded line. I want to go to the mall and have it be crowded. Like, honestly, I
Disneyland.
don't know how. I want to go to Disneyland. I don't know how we are going to get back to that place where we're not afraid of each other and someone sneezes or coughs and you look at them like, oh my God, they have it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think just human interaction and feeling connected to people and just, even if it's just strangers, that's for me, that's a big thing.
Yeah. Beautifully said, Joanna. Thank you.
No, thank you.
So, what message would you like to leave with our listeners about self-care and staying healthy? If you could summarize self-care, what would that be?
Well, self-care to me means that doing something, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's, literally staying in bed for a day and shutting yourself off from the outside world, if it's, actually going out and hiking, whatever it is that you need to do that just makes you feel, like the best version of you, just do that. There's no judgment in it, and stay grateful. That's the biggest thing that I think that keeps people healthy, because we can get so caught up in the negativity and everything that's going on, not just with the pandemic, just, thinking about so many people, like you said, that have lost their jobs, people that have lost family members, people that are, are going hungry, like people that are, have to get their food in food banks. Like, there's just so much that it's hard for me as a nurse, and I know that it is, but I'm grateful that I get to go to work every day. And I think that that's really the key to staying happy, especially during really difficult times like this.
Well, Joanna, thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know you're going to school full time, which we didn't get into. But I know that you're super busy, and I learned so much today, and I'm so grateful to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And before we let you go, we do this fun little tag that we've come up with. It's our little tagline, but we ask you to join us. You raise our fists and we say, unify and rise up. So if you could say it with us.
Unify and rise up.
Rise up.
Thank you so much, Joanna. Okay. It was our privilege to have you be on this show. And we just are so grateful to all of our healthcare workers.
Very, very, very grateful. Very grateful.
Stay tuned for our next Diva Talk, where we interview another fabulous guest.